What's happening, everybody? You are now watching J.U.K Sports Show. I'm your host, King Ralph, here in the building with my boy and my co-host as well, the homie Kai. What's happening, G?
Yo,
How you
yo.
feeling, brother?
I'm feeling like $1,000,000 today, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what's up.
Yeah. How about you?
I'm feeling good, man.
Feeling good, man.
Got me a haircut, so I feel great.
Fresh.
Feel like a brand new man.
What did Slim from 112 used to say? So fly.
Right? I'm so fly.
Yeah.
Right. But before we get joined, allergies been kicking my behind too. I'll tell you that's another thing too.
Oh man.
Make sure y'all get your allergy medicine out here.
Yeah.
But before we get this thing jumping, send a shout out to the sponsors. You see the J.U.K logo behind us, so you know we in front of the green screen. So if you want to do any photo shoots, music videos, podcasts like what you're watching right now, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fitboxer. And we're going to jump into that big deal or whatever segment over the weekend. Boston Celtics come up with a big win against the Nets. Is this a big deal or is it whatever?
Absolutely, it's a big deal. And the reason why I say it's a big deal is because I'm looking at a team in the Boston Celtics who I truly believe, Ralph, are now a dark horse contender for the Eastern Conference Finals and even possibly making it to the NBA Finals, which I don't have them making the NBA Finals, but as the Eastern Conference Finals contender.
Yeah.
Not so much just because they beat the Brooklyn Nets, but because we're looking at a team who's peaking at the right time prior to the playoffs. You have two-way wing players in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum is actually having the best season of his career statistically and number one across the board in his statistics. And you have a team that has a defensive identity who's really taking the identity of their coach. And I think his last name is J.U.K, J.U.K from the San Antonio Spurs under the Greg Popovich tree.
Yep.
I truly believe that this team, Ralph, not just to be recency bias, but I believe they're a team that is hitting the stride at the right time. You have a guy in Marcus Smart who can defend the other team's point guard. He can neutralize some of the bigs on these other teams despite his small height. Right, he has a lot of stature. And I'm looking at the Celtics and what they've been able to do over this stretch. Like, they're a really, really good team. They've unlocked, quote unquote, the Time Lord, the shot blocker. And then you have Al Horford, a veteran presence who can also play defense and stretch the floor from three. So I think you look at it from that perspective. You look at a guy in Jason Tatum who's actually been to two Eastern Conference Finals before under Brad Stevens. And ultimately, I believe that if they can get in, well, they're going to be in the playoffs, obviously, but seeding is going to matter. They could potentially make some noise where a lot of teams are looking at, or a lot of fans are looking at a team like the Cavaliers who've suffered some injuries. So I actually like this Boston Celtics team. Never been a fan of the Celtics, but I like what they have from a talent perspective, from a coaching perspective, and just a defensive perspective. I think they are, I'm not going to say they're as good as Miami per se, because based off record, because it's regular season, but they do have something that Miami lacks, which Miami doesn't have many shot creators. They're trying to get some of that in Victor Oladipo, but I think that the Boston Celtics have more shot creators with plus the defense. So what do you say about them?
I agree with a lot of what you got to say. I can see them getting to a conference final. I mean, they've been able to do that with less talent on the team. I do think they got a lot of talent, man. When you go from Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White. I thought they still had Schroeder, but I don't see him on the list.
I think Schroeder went to Houston.
Did they trade him?
I think they traded him. I thought he was going to be a buyout candidate.
Yeah, I thought it was going to end up being a buyout thing. But Derek White, Marcus Smart, Robert Williams, a rebound machine. You got the good old steady Al Horford, Daniel Tice. So I do think that they have a lot of depth while also being a lot of veterans mixed in with some young guys, Grant Williams, Aaron Nesmith. And so with Peyton Pritchard as well, too. So I think that you do got like some people that's going to do some dirty work. You got some people that's going – there's some young talent mixed in with some very good talent. So I think plus at the top, you got Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, who you put any 2-on-2 lineup, it's going to be a rough night. And for mostly anybody that you put at 2-on-2 against, because you've got two people who are going to go out there. One, I feel like is a better defender.
Which one?
Jaylen Brown.
Jaylen Brown. Okay.
I like him more as a defender. I think that he does a really good job of staying in front of you, where he doesn't really risk and take chances and create fouls. Yeah, he's not a reacher. He just move his feet, play in front of you, stay in front of you, and tough defender, go straight up. that type of thing. So I do think that they can possibly get there. I do think that the one thing that they're gonna miss or that they're missing is not that you gotta have a dominant big, but you gotta have a big that can go get double doubles. And at this point in his career, Al Horford is not gonna give you a double double on a
he might have a resurgence of a game in the playoffs.
Right. A game or two. He might have two games, but he's not gonna have like for a whole series. So I do think that I think it's a big deal for the sake of, because it was looking like, man, I don't even know if they might not even make the playoffs.
Right. And I think I had them as the 8th seed in the preseason or something like that.
Right. They was looking like one and done if they even got in. So it's a possibility of them getting, you don't even know if they're getting in or not. But at the same time, now they're looking like it's a big deal because now they're going to be, you can see them going all the way to the Eastern Conference. But now it's kind of whatever because I don't see them winning it.
Right. But when you're in there, you always have a shot.
When you got a shot. Yeah, especially when you're in there, you at least got a shot.
Yeah, my last point on them was going to be health. If you look at some of the teams, I don't think they really had to deal with too many injuries. Right. That was going to be my last point on them.
Right. So I agree with that, man. And then it has not happened yet, but it's looking like, is it Dexter Lawrence? Is that his name?
Dexter Lawrence.
Or DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence.
That's why I was like Dexter.
Yeah. DeMarcus Lawrence and Amari Cooper will be released
from the Cowboys.
From the Cowboys. Is this a big deal or is it whatever?
You know what? I think it's a big deal. For the perspective of what have the Cowboys really done?
Right.
Respectfully, man. Like the Cowboys, they're a team that a lot of people have seen fraudulent. We go through this every single year, Ralph, about the Cowboys actually producing in the playoffs, taking that next level. They thought that pairing an Amari Cooper with the Dak Prescott would get them there. It wasn't. You have DeMarcus Lawrence, who was seen as, the premier pass rusher, and when their defense was an issue, and it's not really paying dividends. It didn't pay dividends this past season in the playoffs when it matters most. And then you have a guy in, I believe Michael Gallup, wasn't he coming off like the injury and different things of that nature? So now you're removing a weapon from a Dak Prescott, and CeeDee Lamb, as good as CeeDee Lamb is, he's not the number one receiver. He's not a number one receiver currently, as we know him. He's a number 2.
Right.
So I do believe that it's a big deal because I'm like, okay, you're getting rid of them, but who are you getting to replace? What is the formula for Dallas? Because honestly, man, I know I'm more of an AFC guy, but I'm like, I thought last year, and I said up here on the show, I really thought that they could at least make a conference championship, man. So the Dallas is just, but then again, maybe this is more of whatever. I'm kind of indifferent, know, because like they just don't. It seems no matter who they have on the team, they just don't get it done, bro.
Yeah, I think right now it's a whatever because it's not that big a deal for me because I think that you're not one. I think you're getting rid of talent you need from the standpoint of if you get rid of Amari Cooper, I still think Amari Cooper is still in his prime. So like, why would you? Yeah. Like, what are you releasing him for? Yeah. Like I just watched him ball out last season, so I'm like, why would you be getting rid of him?
He had a resurgence with Dallas that he seemed to, not have. At the
then DeMarcus Lawrence, on the other hand, I don't think that's more like that's whatever. Yeah. But I do think the Amari Cooper is a big deal because I do think that you're getting rid of someone that could end up coming back to haunt you. Yeah. Because it's like you look at how many teams need a number one receiver. If let's just say the Commanders get a quarterback that they can trust.
Wait, that's their name now?
Yeah.
Oh Lord. I like the Red Wolves, man. But anyway, I think they're going to get rid of the name. Anything that has red with it, they're doing that. So, correct. So yeah, okay.
Most definitely. I think that with them, they got boy that's over there that went to Ohio State.
Terry McLaurin?
Yes.
Yeah, Scary Terry.
Scary Terry, man. You pair him with an Amari Cooper. And it's like all right, like that's it. Kind of it makes it dangerous.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
Then right now the Raiders with the loss of Henry Ruggs, you need a number one receiver. He could come back to Las Vegas. He can come back to the Raiders and make a difference. So it's like at a certain point, I don't really know where you're going, especially if the issues are not those two people. So like the issues that you have, it's not your passing game. That's the problem. It was really the running game. Yeah. Then on defense, outside of like your pass rush was the strength. So it's like I don't get where unless maybe you could take that money and then you got somebody else that could replace them, or you could get an Amari Cooper type talent for cheaper.
Well, I always say that the receiver. I would say the receiver position is the second most. What is that word? Dispensable position or whatever.
Right.
You know, kind of like how like the running back position
Correct,
you can always replace that. I will give them that, but I agree with you there in terms of like that wasn't the problem.
Right.
I would be looking at the head coach.
Right.
100%. Get rid of him.
100%. I definitely would be looking at the head coach because I do think that he's the problem.
There we go.
when it really comes down to it. So
yeah,
at a certain point, it's whatever to me.
I think I might agree with you, Ran. It's the Cowboys. Like we don't really care until they do something. So
right.
Yeah.
And so Warriors. When we came up with the topic, it was there was 4-game losing streak. They lost last night to the Nuggets, so it's a 5-game losing streak.
Yeah.
Is this a big deal?
Worrisome or
is it whatever?
Land? It's a big deal. And I'm like, man, you always say everything's a big deal, Kai. No, it's a big deal. I said that the Cowboys or whatever, I switched because you convinced me, right? Or maybe I even convinced myself. But yes, to get back on topic, this is a big deal. Why? Because the Warriors were deemed as a team that was a potential front runner to make the NBA Finals out in the Western Conference, even ahead of the Phoenix Suns that a lot of pundits started to have. Vegas even liked them before the year as the 4th best odds to win the NBA championship. And we know what Steph Curry can do. We know what Draymond Green can do. We knew what Klay Thompson could do when they were all healthy. But when you have a guy like Klay Thompson, right, who is an integral piece in your team, and you're trying to, I guess you could say, quote unquote, put him back, force him back into the squad, and he seems to be taking away from some of those bench pieces, right? Those guys, and now he's struggling with his shot. He's shooting poorly, right?
Yes.
Then you have to look at a Steve Kerr. There's a coaching situation. Steph Curry talked about he's going back to finally the way his minutes were, before, and resting in the beginning. I think the fourth quarter, the first 2 minutes or so, whatever it was.
Right.
So I think there's some things that they can fix. But now we truly see, at least I know me and you, we already knew this, but a lot of people are truly seeing why Draymond Green, yes, he is a Hall of Famer. And yes, he is the vocal leader on that team and the catalyst for the defense. He's an excellent communicator defensively, right? Great rebounder. He can run that small ball lineup that they have, push the ball on the break. He puts everyone in position. And so without Draymond Green, that's an issue. With Draymond Green, they still lack size, Ralph, which we talked about on our other show. That's why I don't think that they'll ultimately get past a team like the Phoenix Suns. They don't have the size. Looney's 6'8". You know what I'm saying? The shooting struggles, and you have guys like Jordan Poole who were in the running for most improved, maybe even 6th man of the year. They have tailed off. So at the end of the day, I believe the Warriors, there is cause for concern. I still do believe that they're going to be a playoff team. I think some people were kind of they overreacted and they're going to lose to the Lakers in the first round. Look, man, the Lakers ain't going to win anything.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
So
stop.
So yeah, and we still don't know what the Grizzlies are in the playoffs yet, but we shouldn't take them lightly either. You know what I'm saying? But there are some things from a coaching perspective and from a health perspective, I think, that are really causing the Warriors to be on this.
I do think it's one of those things where like it is a big deal for me because you also, a lot of people will assume, all right, Draymond Green comes back, they go back to that team that was first in the West,
and they'll stay healthy and everything.
Right.
Kumbaya.
And it's like, all right, cool, but you're assuming a lot has to go right for that to even happen because you've seen certain players that, like, if it had been the same team before, like Klay that came back, then maybe I would probably agree with a lot of people who feel like once Draymond Green comes back, they'll just be cool.
Yeah.
But you've seen Jordan Poole not play as well with Klay being back in the lineup.
Yes.
And having a different role. So it's like you're also adjusting, playing in different roles rather than Draymond's not coming back to the same team before he got hurt.
Right.
And so I do think that that's one thing that people do got to consider, which is why it's a big deal, because now they're third in the West. The Grizzlies are second in the West. So it's like the Grizzlies are trending up while the Warriors are trending down. So it's a lot to worry about.
And they can't defeat. I mean, not say defeat. They can't defend Jokic if the Nuggets are the 6th seed in the first.
Exactly. So
Right.
it's like it puts when it's all about matchups,
Right.
like styles win fights,
Right.
and in the playoffs, that's really what is gonna end up boiling down to.
And my last one in the Warriors, man, is you ever hear the story of the boy that cried wolf and no one believes him?
Yes.
With all due respect to the Warriors organization, two things, right? One, I hear from fans that keep talking about this James Wiseman. We know what Wiseman it was in college, and we understand what we think he could be in the NBA, right?
Right.
But potential without kinetic energy means nothing. You know what I'm saying? It's like people keep talking about Wiseman like he's this giant that lives in the hills somewhere. As far as I'm concerned, with all due respect, he's a figment of our imagination, because I never really believed he was coming back. With all due respect, he's kind of like Kawhi Leonard, right? It's just like we have 17 games left in the season. Wiseman's magically going to come back. And then my last point on their GM was, I read an article where Myers was talking about the buyout market, and adding a big to the buyout market, and he said that, well, we need a specific type of big for our system and blah blah blah, and we're just not going to go out and buy get someone for the buyout market who's big just for the sake of getting him and all this kind of stuff. I think we're fine with what we have, but we'll always exercise all options. And it was kind of like a little laissez-faire, kind of nonchalant attitude.
Right.
And I'm not saying the Warriors were a bad team. Me and you never said that, but I was kind of like, the moment he said that, I was like, you're letting what we call missed opportunity, and you kind of let that go. And so if you play the Suns or you play the Nuggets in the playoffs and you're getting your butt kicked in the front court because you have no big, I'm sorry.
Right.
So they had a spark when they started, like Jay-Z said, but now they hot garbage. So, all right, moving on.
And Araron Rodgers signs a contract extension. First report is $200 million for 4 years. I read some reports that is false, so you never know. I mean, the exact number on it, but we do know he has a contract extension to stick out with the team. The team has franchise tag Devontae Adams. Is this a big deal?
No.
I agree.
Shocker.
I 100% agree with you, G.
And I'll keep it short. What I said like a month ago, 2 months ago, whenever they got knocked out of the playoffs or whatever, when the playoffs ended, I don't remember. The biggest thing that the organization needs to worry about is really Araron Rodgers needs to take accountability. I think Araron Rodgers is a great quarterback in terms of his skill set, but he can't get you over the hump.
No.
He can't do it. He did it once, and I think it was one of those things when a dead clock is broke once a day or lightning struck. That's all I really have on that. I love Devontae Adams. I think we like him.
Right.
Excellent route runner.
Yes.
But
and he plays well in big games too.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say. I don't want to be too wordy with it, bro.
Yeah, Araron Rodgers, when it comes to just the talent of a quarterback, it'd be hard to argue anybody else having a better all-around talent.
Probably, yeah.
Ball placement, the mobility factor, leadership, the intangibles, arm strength.
Right. The Hail Marys.
Right. Right. So it's like, but when you start to see like, all right, cool. Why are you struggling to outduel Jimmy G?
Facts.
You can't even outduel Jimmy G.
You can't score more than 10 points.
Right. And so it's like at a certain point, like I get it. You're not going, it's not basketball where you're facing one. It's not a 1v1, but at the same time, it's like you're way too talented to just score 10 points.
Yeah. And
so it's like, for me, it's whatever for me. Like until you show me otherwise, I don't really care. You could have went somewhere else.
Right.
And it's still probably, because we still didn't say that if he goes to the Broncos, that it's this foregone conclusion. And we'll talk about the Broncos in a moment.
And also, Ralph, remember their receiving core. I don't know how you felt about this, but over the years, because I'm not a Packer fan, but I was like, maybe I'm in the dark, but I never thought the Packers had like a really bad receiving core.
Right.
Was I ever wrong about that?
No, like you don't look at their names and think like, oh my God, these names pop off this list, but they're not. When you watch the games, they don't look like, oh my God, this receiving core is trash.
Yeah, because they act like his second and third receivers are like the things that the Aravians had to play with.
Right,
I'm like, it was never that bad to me. But anyway,
yeah. But we got to move on.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. It's whatever to me until Araron Rodgers can show me otherwise. I could care less about his contract extension.
Yeah. Boring.
But combine just wrapped up over the weekend with some really good moments.
Yeah.
Some record breaking moments as well. What was one of your favorite combine moments?
Kalen Barnes, second fastest 40-yard dash in scouting combine history. Really, for me, I ran track and field and I played basketball. Those are my two sports. I played other sports in PE, but but outside of PE, it was track and field since I was in third grade and on and throughout high school, and then I played basketball. So the speed thing, seeing people getting off the line, using their drive for the first, what we called it, the 30 meters, and then we have what you call the turnover, right? Nose pocket. But this is just a 40-yard dash. Just being able to see him do that. And the combine, the 40-yard dash, I would say is like what they call the creme de la creme, that they say back whatever.
Right.
I even know that's French, right? All right, cool. But the creme de la creme of the combine is the 40-yard dash for me. So I just thought what he was able to do was insane. I mean, look at this. 4.23 seconds. Puts him at number 2 all time for the event, behind only receiver John Ross, who had 4.22.
True.
And when
he balled out.
Yeah. And when we look at the combine, Ralph, right? How you perform in the combine, aka the meat factory, as they like to say it, but you can move your draft stock up just off that. So you move your draft stock up. Maybe you add, get some more incentives in the contract. I don't know, what I'm saying?
Right.
But I just think that's cool. Great for him. And he will always go down into NFL lore, history, and combine. So for me, it was just really cool to watch and just see, as a guy who's always enjoyed the speed side of the game.
And I like the speeds. I'm going to stick with your speed side, but I'm going to go a little bit up on the size factor. Jordan Davis is interior lineman from Georgia, runs a 4.78 40 at the size of 341 pounds.
Don't steal his food.
No, not at all. 6'6". They got him listed at 6'6", 341 pounds. That's an interior lineman.
Wow.
And he also was able to break the record for the broad jump, which is crazy for someone that big to be able to jump that far without running.
Bruh.
So it's like the measurables, and then we talked about this last night because if you go on NFL.com right now, they got him listed as teams that he fits. The Raiders is one team that he would fit well with. Now, whether or not we would take him as in anything is I'm not sure, because I think we have other needs.
Is that your Cleveland Farrell makeup one pick?
I don't know about that, man, because I do think that we'll see what happens, because with our new defensive scheme, it's going to change up some things, and I don't know.
You have a new GM too.
If Ngakoue, as well as I know Max Crosby, I think he just fits in no matter what defense you use.
Yeah,
but Ngakoue, I don't know if he fits in that 3-4 scheme where that's the base is going to be 3-4, but it's going to be a little bit of a hybrid. So I'm not sure what we go with as far as that. But the tape, I got to watch more tape on him to see whether or not that would translate to the field, because
that's fair.
He has all the measurables as far as speed and agility, but did you pop out
on
film?
And were you able to make key stops? I did see him do some of that versus Michigan. I think it was Michigan that he did that on. But I didn't really get to see him throughout the whole entire course of the season.
Exactly.
So yeah. Okay.
And then where we at now? Man, this was a big deal. I do think it's a very big deal. I do think they're a little bit overboard with it. I get it. Rules are rules. But Calvin Ridley was caught gambling on NFL games he did not participate in, nor was he near the team, but suspended for all of the 2022 season. It's an indefinite suspension, so he might be able to play the next season. He might not. Just depends on what they find, because they're still doing some investigations. He's came out and said that I only gambled $1,500 total. And he tweeted this, so this is his quotes exactly. I gambled $1,500 in total. I do not have a gambling problem.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some people who are jumping all over it. I like to look at things, especially as a black man who watches, and we might look at these people as grown men, but to a certain degree, as a person that's 32, when a person is 23, 24 years old, they're still, depending on their upbringing, they're still immature children at a certain point. They're just rather large, fast, and rich. Yeah, rich children at a certain point.
Overgrown kids, is what I like to call them.
Exactly. So it's like, did he get what he deserves, or was the penalty a little bit too harsh?
I think the penalty was a little bit harsh. I also believe that there's a lot of fake outrage, and people would be like, "Oh, how dare you?" Here's why I say it's fake outrage, man. When I hear about someone with a gambling situation, and this is me personally, because I actually work, for like a sports book and stuff, but it's like, I kind of don't care in some respects, unless you're addicted to gambling. I don't care for some respects, and I call it fake outrage because it's not your money and it's not mine.
Right.
So who really cares? Like, I could keep it as short as that and we move on. But I'm just saying, like, but I'm just, like, really, like, it's not my money. He has a lot of money. He also, I thought that he was under the threshold for what you could gamble or you weren't supposed to gamble. It wasn't like didn't they say you couldn't gamble $25K or $250K? And he said he gambled what?
If you're an employee,
right? But you can't be a player, obviously.
Yeah, if you're an employee, you can gamble a certain amount. Right. But if you can't, but if you're a player, you cannot gamble at all.
But he wasn't even in the league at the time when he did it. But was he on a suspension before?
No, he took a leave of absence for mental health.
So there should be a loophole. And I think he found a loophole.
You would think so, but I don't think he did because he's still, just because you take a leave of absence, you're still being paid.
Yeah, you're not retired.
Yeah.
So he was still on NFL payroll.
You're still on the payroll. You're still being paid. I watched Undisputed on it as I was getting ready to come pick you up.
Yeah.
And I thought that they brought up some good points because it is one of those things that depending on where he's at when it took place, it's a slippery slope. Because, all right, so in cities like Atlantic City and Las Vegas, you can go to a sports book, place a bet. In other places, it could lead to where you're placing a bet through someone. Then you get to a point where you can't pay back the debt.
Right.
How are you going to pay back this debt?
Yeah.
Now, that's where you start to see, throughout history, people have thrown games, and it can lead to that. So I do understand it. Like, rules are rules. I do think that if you break the rules, all right, cool. But like when you look at the circumstances of what happened, it's not proven that he had any type of inside information because he was away from the team.
Yes.
He bet on the Falcons to win,
right?
Which I've seen a lot of people talking about. That should really be the penalty there.
Right. That's the butt of the joke right there.
Right. That's the butt of the joke is that he did a parlay. So he took a couple of different teams. He bet $1,500 in total. So I do think I'd say like half a season. But the precedent for people that have been caught gambling has been a year.
Yeah.
So if he gets more than a year, there has to be something else that comes out for you to justify that type of punishment. So for me, I do think it's a little harsh. I don't think he deserves that long of a sentence.
Good old NFL, man. They ban people crazy for weed.
Right. So. I've seen people beat their wife, not seen them personally, but I've seen stories of people beating their wife and get lesser punishment than what he did.
People be like, you were a bystander, Ralph? It's like, you didn't say nothing? No, let's not touch that subject. But no.
Right. I'm not even going to get into that because then it's like, let's just say we use Jordan Davis, a person that's Jordan Davis, 6'6", 340. What am I supposed to do?
I mean, we had the Greg Hardy situation. Now, that was wild.
But, yeah. But like we said, we're not going to get into all of that.
We ain't going to get into all
Next topic.
Next topic, moving on.
Lamar Jackson, among others, which was a really good episode if you have not watched LeBron James show the shop.
Right.
Lamar Jackson was on there, and LeBron and Maverick Carter got to talking about racial bias when it comes to the quarterback position. Maverick did a really good job of trying to include Lamar in the conversation to kind of get his ideas, and I think he does a really good job of hosting that show and controlling the conversation. But he asked him how he felt. Lamar Jackson agreed there is a racial bias against black quarterbacks. and says it is still there, alive and well.
And that's why I need that championship.
And that's why I need that shit.
Yeah.
Do you agree?
I do agree. Not from a monetary or financial standpoint, which I know some people were automatically saying, "Oh, well, you get paid," and people like to use that as like a guise where like, "Oh yeah, you guys are getting paid. You should be happy, man." It's like we paying you guys millions of dollars. You guys are getting entitled. Ugh, you know.
Don't get me started.
And I don't like the undertones of that. That was not what he was talking about. He was implying from, he was a Heisman quarterback. Okay, at the collegiate level. He had one of the greatest seasons in college football history as a Heisman Award winner at Louisville. And after his following season, which he was a first-round draft pick, at his combine, he was being asked about playing the receiver position, how good his hands were. You know what I'm saying? So much so that he didn't want to run the 40 time because they would say, oh, he's too fast. He needs to be a receiver.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I'm also playing running back. They called him a running back.
People
even say this running back,
He still uses hashtag not bad for a running back.
Exactly. So that shows you that there's the racial undertones where a guy like Josh Allen, let's look at a guy like Josh Allen. Josh Allen was never asked, and he's a mobile quarterback. Right. He was never asked to play running back or wide receiver, or any other Heisman quarterback that had a season, similar or whatever, who's of the white descent isn't going to be asked that. So that's really where he was really coming from.
And he still doesn't get the harsh criticism.
And he's
where the Buffalo Bills their running game is Josh Allen.
Thank you.
Where Lamar Jackson is a big part, a vital part of the running game, but then for years you've had the Gus Edwards, you had the J.K. Dobbins, you've had a plethora of running backs where they're the leading running attack year after year after year.
Yeah.
But it's not, you don't just look on the stat sheet and it's Lamar Jackson and then a huge fall off. It's a couple of dudes who are anywhere from 500 yards in the season to 1,000.
Exactly.
And
go ahead.
And every year after year. So I do think I agree with you. It is a huge racial bias that I legitimately hate.
Yeah. And I'll kind of end it with this is, let's be real. If you guys watch the mainstream media, it always seems like it's always like, what does Lamar have to prove? Right. It's always has Lamar to prove. Now, I will always say with the Ravens, and I've been on this show many times, with the Ravens organization, there's a lot of fault to be had where there's accountability, or should I say accountability that needs to be taken from the coaching staff, how the roster is put together, and even some of Lamar Jackson's struggles in the playoffs. And I know for much is given, much is required, but I hate when they try to put all the onus of the blame on him for his failures when they don't look at both sides of the coin. They don't look at, offensive linemen being hurt. They don't look at the coaching, the playbook. Greg Roman, who you have current Hall of Fame quarterbacks such as Kurt Warner. You have Hall of Fame receiver Steve Smith Sr., who have called him out. You have actual analysts on TV have called out the Greg Roman, right? Mm-hmm. But then these other analysts, they always going to put things on Lamar. And what does Lamar have to prove? I've heard people talk about, like Brady Quinn say, the Ravens need to look at have they reached their cap on their ceiling with Lamar Jackson this season? Like the dude
they're immediately turning to Lamar Jackson instead of looking at
exactly like it's over. It's just over now.
It's like, yo, you just don't, you have to watch the offense.
Yeah, and he's actually accomplished pretty much. He has the highest winning percentage of every quarterback that got drafted before him in the regular season, right? And so I think Josh Allen is the only one who's gotten to the conference finals of that draft so far. Right. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we're just saying, why is it always what does Lamar have to prove? When is it going to be what does Baker have to prove? When is it going to be Darnold or some of these other quarterbacks of that ilk who everyone deemed was better than Lamar Jackson? People said that, even Bill Polian said that he doesn't believe whatever. Now obviously he went out and apologize and etc. So
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
I don't want to hear that at all.
You wait till after everything's going peachy keen. So, without being too long-winded, man, Lamar Jackson got a good head on his shoulders, continue to grind, continue to keep his head down, do what he does. But I do agree from that standpoint, not from a financial standpoint. Even that, they still attack his contract situation, but he's betting on himself.
Boy, you better pay that boy.
Yeah, he's betting on himself though. So
better pay that boy. Stop with the cap.
But Dak money,
if you gave Pat Mahomes all that money,
right? Because he has an MVP.
And Dak,
right?
And
Dak
don't
have an MVP.
And Dak don't. At least Dak, like you gotta pay him more than Dak. I know they're restructuring his contract from what I say
It should
too,
be interesting to see
which is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that whole thing is wild to me.
Right.
But
All right.
for the sake of time, I'm gonna save the top 25 players for last.
Okay.
Russell Wilson traded from the Seahawks to the Denver Broncos. I do not have the details on that one as we speak.
Did you want to take away just your opinions on that? Want to set it off?
Yeah, I do think it's going to be interesting, man, because I do think that
because that's your division.
My division, even before, it was always like if the Broncos got a quarterback, how far could they go? Because you have a plethora of you got Noah Fant, you got Jaron Judy, you got Cortland Sutton, you got I'm trying to think. Is it KJ Hamler?
Yeah, KJ Hamler, the speedster.
KJ Hamler.
I love that name, KJ Hamler.
Right. You got KJ Hamler, Williams, Melvin Gordon, a solid offensive line group.
Yeah.
And young studs on defense, Bradley Chubb.
Got some running backs too. I mean, Gordon's there. He's injured, but they have another like a second-year running back this year. I think.
Yeah, Williams.
Yeah.
From North Carolina.
Right.
And I think that he led the league in yards after first contact too.
Yeah.
So I do think that, or at least he led the league for the last half of the season. I don't think he led the league for the whole season because I don't think he played until up into a certain game.
Yeah, them fantasy experts were like, drop Melvin Gordon. I'm like, man, he ain't a timeshare fool.
Right. Exactly. And I like the squad, man. Like me, I like sports. I do have my teams that like obviously I'm not gonna root for them.
Right. Never. That's sacrilege, right?
Right. I do have my teams that I'm not gonna root for them. But at the end of the day, I want to see competitive football.
Right.
So I hate watching like when it's a Sunday night game.
You ain't trying to see them bums on Thursday night,
right? But I don't want to see no bums. I don't want to see anybody just two bums.
Right, Jets and like I don't know.
Jets and Jaguars, bro. Get this off my TV, bro.
And you can predict the score, man. It's like man, it's like back to Netflix, like,
right?
Boy, man.
Bro, I'm good, bro. I'm not trying to see Tua and Zach Wilson in a who could be the worst quarterback on this TV.
Hey, bro, you gotta pull my card on that, man. I was like, Zach Wilson. Remember, I was up on here. I was like, man, Zach looked pretty nice, man, in college. And you was like, explain yourself, Kai. Right. I'm just saying.
I'm not here to say that Zach Wilson is not a good quarterback because I don't even want to get off topic.
Right. Jets have trash organizations. So.
Yeah, but like you're trading someone that you're not getting. The player you got rid of isn't much worse than the person you're trying to get.
You're right.
Yes,
but then they had Flacco at one point. But anyway, continue.
Not to get off topic, but to get back on topic. I do think this does make them legitimate Super Bowl contenders. You have someone. I don't think Russell Wilson won an MVP.
No, and I believe, with all due respect to Tom Brady, I think it was a 2017 or 2018 season. He should have won that because he set a record for like most yards accounted for.
Right.
Now that was the year Cliff Averill went down, Sherman went down, like everyone went down. But they gave it to Brady based off, I think, wins and stuff like that.
Yeah, so I do think it's interesting. It is going to make it does make them a legitimate contender.
Mm-hmm.
You immediately shoot to top 5 in the AFC. I think with that
we project him, but for the most part.
At least top 5, top 6.
Yeah.
And it does make it an interesting conversation. I've already been having the conversation with people about the Raiders and whatnot. So we'll see what happens. We have a new coach, new defensive scheme, like I brought up in another segment. So I'm going to let you take over at this point because I'm kind of curious what you think. But for me, I do think it does make them a legitimate contender. And I do think now we do have the best division in football.
Okay. That was really just well thought out, bro, and well said, man. I mean, I got to give you, man, that was beautiful. That was beautiful, guys. Everyone, round of applause on that. But I was gonna say with the Raiders point, because I know you kind of mentioned that. You know that that meme or that GIF or whatever, the video of like the puppet Kermit the Frog. We all know Kermit the Frog, and he's jumping from like he's Scott nose diving.
Right.
That's what some of these Raiders fans sound like what you was telling me on the way over here, man. Like they jumped off the Raiders ship, man. They're like,
yo, relax, bro. We still got to play football.
It's over, man. They nosedive. But I do believe that the Broncos on paper, right? I always say what's on paper doesn't always project to the field. But I think on paper, they have a good offense. They have a good defense. You have Jerry Jeudy, who's an elite route runner. You have Russell Wilson, who I said he is the consummate, or if that's the right word, quarterback that any coach will want.
Yeah.
I would think.
You can say he's a consummate professional.
Thank you, man.
The term they use.
The consummate professional. You know what I'm saying? He's perfect. He can move, throwing to the right, throwing to the left. He can pick up first downs. When he doesn't have to force the issue, when he has a good defense around him, what he can do, right? Because he's won in Seattle a Super Bowl. But I've always said that I even went and said that he was better than Drew Brees when Drew Brees was with the Saints for those last couple of years. Not even his down year, but I just thought Russell Wilson really was because of the value. Was he ever the best quarterback? No, but did I always thought he was the most valuable? Yes. Now, obviously, we have Lamar Jackson. But I do believe that this makes that division tougher, and it makes the AFC a lot more tougher. And I'm really excited to see what they do moving forward, how the coaching staff works. And I want to address this one thing because I know you said you don't have all the details. I think you're looking them up right now. But we talk about, I think they gave like 2 first-round picks. They gave Drew Lock. They gave Noah Fant. They gave all this stuff. And people say they're not a fan of sending out all that type of draft capital for one player.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say this. I disagree. It depends on who said player is. If we believe the quarterback is the most cerebral position on the field, and we believe the quarterback position is the most important position in the field, and you can get a top 3, top 5 quarterback in the league that is a ceiling raiser and even a floor raiser, quite frankly, and Russell Wilson, you do it. Why? Because dynasties don't really happen that much in the NFL like they do in the NBA. The NFL is a lot harder to win championships. Why? Because you only play one game, right? You don't have a seven game series and different things of that nature. It's very hard to repeat. So you can have all the draft capital in the world. Look at what the Cowboys have done. Have they won anything? No. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying that it's a bad trade for either team, but I actually don't really mind them giving up that much for Russell Wilson if they truly believe that they can win a Super Bowl. Because if I'm a Denver Broncos fan, am I going to be crying at night if we get to the conference championship and lose? No, I'm gonna say what I would run it back and do it again. I would do that trade a million times. Just for me. So that's pretty much all I have on it, bro. Like honestly.
And I'm gonna say this little part, and then I'm gonna give my piece on it. Okay. So you mentioned some of the details of the trade.
Yeah.
So it is confirmed they traded Drew Lock, Noah Fant, defensive lineman Shelby Harris, 2 first-round picks, which is the number 9 pick and next year's pick. 2 second-round picks, which is the number 40 overall draft pick this year, as well as next season's, and then a 5th rounder.
A 5th rounder
as well.
Okay.
And I think they got a 4th rounder as well. So it's like in total, it's like 6 draft picks.
Yeah. Because like if you're John Elway, like like John Elway, they've always said, he struggled to get a quarterback, right? So if you know that you struggle to draft a quarterback, where else can you get a quarterback? Use all your resources. I can trade for one. So people should,
especially for someone that's like top 5.
Right. So if anything, if you're an analyst or someone who's criticizing, why don't you give him some flowers or some roses this time around? And be like, hey, wow, you pulled off Russell Wilson.
Right.
Because when I saw
you got a training, and you get him for training camp.
Right.
And a full OTAs.
Yeah, I almost fainted when I read my phone. I was like, "What's this commotion about?" Like, wait, what? I didn't know this was going down.
The only thing I have a problem with.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
I think that if Noah Fant can get,
like Noah Fant,
a good quarterback, then you would have had.
Yeah,
you would. But I do think that whoever the quarterback it's going to end up being in Seattle, whoever they get next, because I do think they did a pretty good job of drafting people.
Yeah. They've always had a good defense, running. They're trying to get that run game back to where it was with Lynch and Boyz, but they got Metcalf still there.
Exactly. You still got Metcalf. You still got Lockett.
Metcalf and Fant and Lockett. That's a cold combination.
Right. And if you can go in and put up, maybe they could coach up Drew Lock a way that the Broncos were not able to do it. But you'll see. It's a possibility, man. Like I do think that.
Yeah. Why not?
And with all them draft picks,
right.
I think that I don't think we're gonna look down the line. I do think that it's gonna boil down. People are gonna be like, if the Broncos don't get to a title, or an AFC championship, or get to a Super Bowl at least, then the Seahawks won.
Yeah, because we're such a reactionary.
Exactly.
I think it's gonna depend on how they're performing, when they're and what the circumstances are. Like if you have people who are getting injured and all that. But I think me and you both as AFC fans, our teams are in the respective conference. As a Ravens fan, no one's expecting us to win jack, right?
Right.
But based off last year, the teams that everyone expected to win in the AFC, the Bills and the Chiefs didn't win.
Right.
I can only go based off of what everyone said. The Bills and the Chiefs were going to make the Super Bowl, not a single one of them. So like you always tell me, Ralph, anything is possible.
Right. You got to any given Sunday, you still got to go out there. You still got to play football.
So we ain't running from no smoke. All right. Let's go.
Facts. All right. So I've been waiting for this one because there's a lot of good young talent in the NBA.
Yeah, perfect timing too.
Exactly. Right. And so we got top 5 players, 25 or under. I don't really have them ranked in any.
I'm not really ranked.
I'm not really gonna rank them, but I got 5. All right. I'm gonna off rip.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm at least start from where I would say probably the bottom.
Okay. Started from the bottom. Now we here.
Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Shai, like the group.
And I think that with him, he has a talent where he has versatility, especially on the defensive end. At 6'5", he can guard ones all the way to threes, depending on what size the 3 is. He's a little, what they call it, light in the pants, I guess you could say. Pause.
Okay.
I don't know why people use that term, but
we'll edit that out.
But it is what it is, man. Like I think that he's a hooper, he's a gamer. You've seen what he did when he had another high quality talent, Chris Paul.
Yeah.
Him and Chris Paul, they was leading the troops, and they got them all the way up to a top 5 seed. You can say that was Chris Paul more than it was him, but he still balled out. When you start talking about young players in the league, especially when it comes to the players that are actually in the league, he's a name that gets brought up all the time. And so with him, I would probably, if I was going to rank them, I'd put him at 5.
Okay.
On this list. I like him a little bit more than some of the other people that are on this list, just for the sake of how I would build my team.
Perfectly fine. I understand.
I like someone who's going to go get at it on both ends of the ball.
No, I like Shai. I think he's smooth as shea butter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
My only knock on Shai, because he's not on my list. The only knock on Shai that I have is apparently Sam Presti doesn't think the same way as we do, or as you do in that situation. The only reason why I say that is because he was ready to ship him out the first thing smoking on draft day for some Cade Cunningham now. So we'll see, because we don't know what that's going to be. And that's not really saying that he's a bad player, but maybe Sam Presti sees a couple of different things. I do know he wants to kind of build a big 3 again.
Yeah, I was going to say, I do think that has more to do with...
But Cade is nice, though.
Once he hits his prime, the players that he's going to be playing with are not going to be in theirs.
They're not. Yeah,
so it's like if I'm like the Thunder are getting all this draft capital. If I'm getting all this draft capital, if I'm getting all this draft capital, I'm expecting all of them to hit their primes at the same time.
Yeah.
Where I think that has more to do with, you get someone whose his prime is, because he's 23. He's 23 right now. So his prime, we got 2 years before he hits his prime, most likely. So where Cade Cunningham, 19, 20 years old.
Yeah.
Then Giddey, about 19, 20 years old.
Giddey is the guy that people really got to watch for.
Exactly. Yeah, true. And then it's so to see what they're going to do next. I think that has more to do with that than it does on whether or not he's sold on his talent.
Okay. But I was going to say, obviously, for time's sake, Bam Adebayo, I'm going to put him. I'm not even going to rank them, but I say Bam Adebayo. I did see, we looked at some lists and all that, but I like Bam. I don't think he gets talked about a lot, but I think this year, most definitely, he is the defensive anchor for that Miami Heat team.
Oh, true.
They are amazing. They are swarming defense. He's been defending Giannis, and he's held Giannis to his lowest point total per game every time they play the Miami Heat, and Giannis is the most dominant player in the NBA. Some say the best, others say KD, but I say KD. You can say KD's the best. Giannis is the most dominant. Jokic is the most valuable, however you want to kind of order it. But Bam, I think, and he's added that like little 15-foot jumper. I think he was shooting like 50-something% from that little area. And he can defend 1 through 5 legit. He really can. So I'm going to put Bam on there just as a defensive specialist. Okay. I think if someone says, who is the defensive player of the year candidate, I would say it's Giannis, but I think they're actually kind of in the same tier of a defender. I'm not saying that that Giannis isn't a better defender, but I think if you just put it on a tier, I think they can do some of the same things. Giannis just kind of has that height advantage.
Right.
All right.
And then
so we got 4 and 3s.
Next, I got Trae Young, Ice Trae.
Trae.
Because it's actually cold in here.
Yeah, it is.
But Ice Trae, what more can you say after what he displayed? Yeah. And the most surprising thing for me is that how young they still are.
I know, right?
I know there's a lot of one and done, so it's like
old,
you get to a certain point where it's like, yo, I feel like you've been around for like De'Aaron Fox is 24 years old. I was just like, bro, that's crazy to me. And I feel like Lonzo is only 24. I just feel like these people have been around for so long.
Bunch of Gen Zs.
And it's like one of those things that makes you think, like, it makes you rethink once you see how old people are. Like when people start calling people bust, a bust, and it's like, yo, they're still only 23, 24.
Like, Luka's only 22. What you mean, fool?
Right.
Zion's on no bust
one of the homies called Zion a bust. Yeah. It's like, come on, G. Like, he's not even 23 yet.
Bro averaged 27 off the strength, bro. Off his own strength, man.
Right.
He was dunking on Gobert and everything.
Just off brute strength and athleticism.
Bro.
27 and 8 every night. That's crazy.
Yeah, bro. Running point forward, running power forward.
But Trae Young, what he was able to do in those playoffs, at the size that he's at, they tried to compare him to Steph, and I see where the evolution of the game was going, where I could see that, but he's not what Steph is.
Yes,
he's just it's in that mold, but it's a different game, and he's so much smaller, not as strong going to the hole, but he has a really good floater in the middle. Every year he's going to be top in scoring as well as assists.
Yeah.
You don't really know him to be as loosey-goosey with the ball like Steph. So I do think that he does a better job of taking care of the ball. His problem, and this is where I start to say that I would probably, if I was going to build a team, I would rather have Shea than I would to take Trae. Because Trae is a liability on defense.
Yes, he is.
And Shea is not. So that's why I said I'm not ranking them, but if I was going to, I would have Shea, SGA a little higher. And for the sake of time, Luka is next.
Luka the Don.
Luka just does a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
One of the homies, a lot of times I think it has to do with the fact that he's white because their games are different. Gets compared to Larry Bird a lot.
And he plays nothing
like Larry Bird
he plays
whatsoever.
More like a James Harden with less shooting ability.
Exactly. Literally. And it's crazy to me because they always talk about how good of a shooter he is, but he's
not really that.
He shoots 1% better from three than Michael Jordan did.
Right. And
we know he's shooting way more.
Right. He likes to airball some threes in playoffs.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And so SGA, Ice Trae, and someone that he's going to forever be compared to, Luka Doncic.
Okay. So I got Trae there as well for the same reasons as you have. And then I go Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, if I were to rank him, he wouldn't be my number one. I think in terms of generational talent, I do believe he is a generational talent in a sense because to be so young and to give people hell, right?
Right.
I understand people look at the Kawhi matchup and all that. I remember prior to last season, the beginning of last season, they ranked Kawhi the 6th best player in the NBA behind Luka. I was like, first of all, Kawhi has always been a top 5 player. I've always had him top 3 because outside of KD and Giannis, I'm putting him there. Now, if you want to put Bron, whatever, cool. But I'm not going to go too much into that with Kawhi. But the fact is he always did run into a superior Clippers team, and he was able to force them 6 games, force them 7 games. And we saw, you have Paul George now, I'm giving you work. You have Batum on him, I'm giving you work. So we're not denying his innate ability to get to the basket, right, to set his 3-point shooters up around him. But he does kind of stop the ball at the top of the key, and his inability to play off the ball.
Right.
That matters to me because we look at a guy like LeBron James, right, someone who he looks up to in the beginning of his career, and even he still suffers from some of this as well, but he's gotten better, is when you can't really play off the ball and that's not your strength, like a Kobe, like a Michael Jordan, right? You limit the game plan and you help the defensive game plan.
Right. You limit your offense.
Right. I tell people this all the time. Look at Mike. Look at Kobe. Don't even look at their scoring. Watch an hour of them just moving off the basketball.
Right. Set screens.
It's beautiful.
Screen and roll.
Screen
and pop.
Right.
Screen and then they seal you, post move.
Right. Look at the mental games and the IQ they play to get to get positioning in the post, just to move without the ball, setting screens, be cutting. So I got Luka at number 2. And then I think we both have the same number 1, if you want to go with it.
Well, at my 2.
Oh, my bad. I'm sorry.
At 2, I got Jason Tatum.
Oh, wow. I missed somebody.
His ability to do I don't think he has a real weakness. There are some things he could get better.
Maybe shot selection.
He could probably get better at.
Yeah.
But I still don't think, like, when you can go off for 50 in one game, 40 in the next game, like you playmaking. Like, he's getting better as a playmaker, but you still wouldn't say, like, he's trash at it. Like, it's just one of those things where when you're game planning for someone, you're gonna look at that and be like, well, if there's a way that we can actually make this a plus for us, it would be to turn him into a playmaker.
Right.
And so I don't think that's necessarily a weakness. Right. A true weakness. It's one of those things that,
plays
like,
to his strengths.
Right. And he plays to his strengths. He does a really good job. He has a very, very versatile game.
Yeah. Smooth like shea butter as well.
Right. And he's gonna legit go out there and play defense and give it effort to play defense.
Yeah.
And so I do think that, and that's something right there where I think that's why I would have him. And I think that, like what you were trying to get to, I think we both have the same number 1.
Yes. Let me set it off, man. I love to say this little phrase. Do you believe in Ja? Ja Morant, that is. That's going to be on a t-shirt, man. Do you believe in Ja, everybody, man? I'm not talking about Java. I'm not talking about Java Mocha. I'm talking about Ja Morant, man.
What would Ja do?
What would Ja do? Do you believe in Ja?
And it's crazy. It's crazy right now because you're getting to us. You're seeing him do some things. Like, you can argue whether or not the team, because the team was winning without him.
Yeah.
But since he's come back, they're second in the whole NBA in record. They're second in the West. They're a really good team. 28-7-6. And I think the one thing that to his game that he can get better at is the free throw shooting.
Yeah. In the especially late game
situation. Yeah. Like, he's shooting like 75-76% from the free throw line.
Yeah.
So I do think that's one thing that he should definitely get better at, because when you start getting compared to the Derrick Roses, Derrick Rose had that situation in college where he missed free throws, and that led to them losing that game.
The whole team couldn't shoot free throws.
But you never saw that become a weakness or a trend when he got to the NBA. Yeah. In the pros, he was a knockdown. He's been 85% from the free throw line every year,
which is impressive. That's a nice average right there.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, man, Ja Morant, I love the tenacity that he plays with.
Yeah.
He's just one of them dudes that I enjoy that part, because I think at a certain point, we all, as people that love basketball, we all in that hooped, we just went to the court. Let me get next. We're going to rock with whoever team we had, and we're going to go out there and try to get buckets and get it up.
Yeah.
And so I like that aspect of things, where it's like you let the GM pick your squad. Now, at a certain point, if they're not doing what it takes to get you that team, but he went into a situation where they already had Jaren Jackson. They already had Dylan Brooks.
Right.
Now we're just looking for that dude that's going to take us to the next level.
Yes.
And you have him in Ja Morant. And so I think I'm super happy that as a person with locks, that he's eventually going to end up being, he's a person that can be the face of the NBA.
Right.
And I'm happy that they're finally being able to stay healthy as a group.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see, because for years we've been waiting for them to be
Grizz.
that next up. Like, people were at the beginning of this season saying that the Grizzlies could be the Suns.
And you got to look at, if the NBA does add an expansion team, they could go to the Eastern Conference, which is where they should belong.
True.
Now, for other teams in the East, that's going to be crazy.
Right.
It's like you can't have all the teams in the East.
Right.
But just my little short nugget on it is, I think the most important thing for Ja, obviously we know his skill. He has a little bit of AI. People say, oh, his favorite player is Russ and all this kind of stuff, but he plays way smarter than Russ.
Right.
But they all have in common that innate ability to continue to attack you. They're always aggressive. And at the end of the day, old school mentality, not old school mentality. Well, he has an old school mentality, but the intangibles.
Right.
He has intangibles that I think some of these other guys, not necessarily Jason Tatum, they don't have. So that's it.
All right.
All right.
And thank you all for watching. It was a pleasure. Have a good one.
Peace.